Welcome to CultureVille, a talk show that shines light on urban culture in Middle Tennessee. I'm your host, Bam, and today on CultureVille, I'm so excited. We have Miss Taffiney Williams. Taffiney is a TV host. She's an actor, a script writer, producer, director. But today, we're going to talk about her book, Would You Marry You? Welcome to CultureVille, Taffiney. I'm so glad you came to do the show with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I am excited about today.
Now, I did read in your bio that you're from Jackson, Mississippi. So how did you end up in Nashville?
Wow, long story, and a lot of why I wrote the book, Would You Marry You, too, honestly. I married at 16, so I was born and raised there in Jackson, Mississippi, but I married at 16 to kind of get away from the crazy of what I was going through there, but I moved into a new crazy with the new husband. So I was there for about 16 years, and then after there, we moved around quite a bit. We were in California for a while, Georgia for about 3 years, Michigan for a couple of years, and then he decided he didn't want to be married anymore. I had had my fourth child by age 22, and I migrated to Oklahoma, where my mom was, because I needed help with the kids.
Hey, and so you ended up in Oklahoma, and then you came to Nashville. Was that your second marriage, or?
Oh, there again. After I moved to Oklahoma, I ended up getting remarried, and that marriage lasted for about 14 years. And the same thing, came home one day and was like, hey, our relationship has run its course, the divorce papers are on the dresser, you know, ... And I was like, we're having problems?
Didn't even know.
Had no idea. So that led me from Oklahoma to Michigan for a couple of years. And after being in Michigan, met someone else, ended up moving here because his family was here, his dad was here, and we moved here, and that's when I really started to dig deep about, hey, what's going on with me? And going through a lot of self-discovery, self-awareness type things. That was the birth of this book, and remarried at that time. Once I got here, I moved here in 2012, so I've been here a little over 10 years at this point.
So what made you, dive into creating a book and being so personal about it? That has to be hard to sort of like air yourself out like that.
Well, one of the things that I have always been very excited about as far as my journey is concerned is my ability to be hot, to be honest, to be open, and to be transparent.
You talk about it in that book.
Yes. And I think I talk about it in every book because until we get real, we can't get right.
Right. With yourself.
With yourself. And if you're not right with yourself, you can't be right with nobody else.
That is true. And that kind of brings me to the next question. The more you write, especially with this book, Would You Marry You, like, how has that changed your view? And do you see, was it therapeutic?
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, this book wasn't written until several years after I had gone through the process. I had done several conferences. I've done several counseling and coaching sessions with people. I've seen the outcome of my process when I engage that with other people. And once I saw that there had been success in other people's relationships based on the steps that God had taken me through in this process, then I wrote the book.
Did you want to be a writer when you were younger, though? Did you, journal? Did it never cross your mind to be an author?
So, when I was younger, I did a lot of poetry. I wrote in poetic formats, not necessarily rhyming poetry, but I wrote in a poetic format because it was my way of releasing the stress and the frustration that I was dealing with from childhood trauma, from, rejection and abandonment and all of those other things. I was able to write in such a way that alone was my therapy, In our culture, we're not as quick to say, oh, you need to go see a therapist or anything like that. So that was my therapy.
We have a show also on NECAT called Would You Marry You? So what's the show about? Like, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, the show is really about bringing awareness to what we're bringing to the table in relationships, because ultimately we are the common denominator. So I have a talk show where I sit and visit with two professionals or two people that have some type of overcomer story when it comes to these specific subjects, whether it be dealing with addiction, whether it be soul ties, whether it be removing the mask, whether it be understanding your purpose, all of these things that we need to do in preparation for relationships.
Make sure y'all watch that. It's on NECAT.
That's one of the things that, and there again, I think that, Would You Marry You, going through that process was like really understanding that people are people. People are going to be people. And there has to be a decision that's made, a decision to stick it in or to move around. And me personally, I believe that marriage is forever. That's my personal belief. And I believe that if I had truly known who I was, if I had totally understood my purpose, if I had dealt with all the soul ties, if I had done all of the forgiveness that I needed to be doing, I probably would have never married these men.
Really?
I probably wouldn't have. Because I would not have been looking for something to complete me or to make me feel needed, wanted, accepted, secure, significant, all those other things. Because the lies that I had believed, because of how I was conceived, because of the family I was raised in, whatever, I had believed the lies that I wasn't worthy, I wasn't lovable, I wasn't this. So I over-excelled, I overdid in order to be accepted. I accepted things to be wanted. Having a piece of man is having better than no man and all. That kind of thing.
That kind of mentality.
Yeah, I had that mentality.
I can deal with this.
It's not
we're
that bad.
Together. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But despite all that, you almost got married the third time.
Oh, so I did get married the third time.
Oh, you did?
I did. And that was about 10 years. So I've been married my whole life. I tell people that all the time. I've literally been married since 16. That's where this really came. I had to step back and what is it about me that is attracting this type of person?
That's the most profound thing that I got from the book. Because I think there's the difference between having a type, and finding yourself in the same relationship over and over again.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It is, but I had to be in a relationship with myself. And so I didn't even know what I liked or didn't like because I had picked up on the desires of the person that I was with. And so it was, what is it about me that's attracting this? But also, what is it about me that's attracted to this?
Yes.
Because there's some lie I'm believing that makes me feel that this is the relationship. That I want to be in.
One thing that I do love about the book is that you say that the book was a labor of love and a journey of self-discovery. Did it hit you immediately?
So what happened, the way that the Would You Marry You movement even started was I was getting ready to get remarried, and I was going through this process, this long list of asking God for what I wanted in a man. And, they weren't tall, dark, and handsome. It wasn't that. It was really the spiritual leader of the household, all the good stuff, right? And he was like, that's cool, but do you think I would take that much time creating this man you're asking me for and bring him to you and your brokenness cause trouble in both of y'all? Would you even marry you? And so that's how it started. So I'm like, okay, well, what am I doing? I'm showing them who I am, but they're not in the space where they even need me yet. Because it said a man that finds a wife. Well, they weren't men yet.
Right.
I was creating. I was trying to make.
You was trying to
help
make them into the man
helping.
you wanted to marry.
Right. I'm helping them out where I should have already been there.
Should have been there.
So when I got through that space of self-discovery, and then I started, I see what happens, and I've got a poetic piece, the spoken words piece that I did in the thick of it, because I went through a deep, deep depression. I went through that depression space, and then saying, okay, what is it about me? Just asking those questions. That's how I went through the self-discovery. I literally had to ask myself questions because it's like, I'm not going around this mountain again.
So it was more so after you got through it and you
Yes.
came to that self-realization that you decide, okay, maybe these words need to be for someone else.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, 100%.
Now, one thing about the book that you talk about that I found so interesting is the mask that people wear. And I just kind of want you to break that down. Like, I got to go back to it. So the first mask is the people pleaser.
Yes. So the people pleaser, yes. So the people pleaser is pretty easy to figure out, right? That it's like, I want to be involved. Like, I'm pleasing people because of the space of me not feeling like I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want anybody to be.
I don't want to rock the boat. I'll just deal with this. That is so, okay. The in-crowder.
The in-crowder just wants to belong. They want to be in the in crowd. Like, if my friends got a man, I need to have a man too. If they going to the party, even though I don't feel like going, I want to go too. That's the in crowder. They want to fit in and don't want anybody to not call them and say, come on, let's go do this, because they want to stay in the crowd.
Stay in the crowd.
Yeah.
And what about the denier?
The denier is like really not wanting to own up to.
It's everybody else's fault.
It is. It has to be somebody else's fault because I've done what I know I'm supposed to do. And that's a mask that we put on. And so my question had always been, do we realize that we're wearing that mask? I mean, like, it really, for me, I had to take the time to be alone to realize that. And a lot of people don't want to take the time to be alone because they really don't like themselves.
That's true. Spending time with yourself is difficult.
It is.
It is. Wow. Okay. The dampener. You call them haters, right?
I had to find a nicer word. I literally had to go to Google and look up, what is another word for hater? What's the hater? What's a hater? Dampener. Yeah, they dampen it. And so when are we doing that? And that was the thing with the self-discovery. Like, when am I being a hater? Like, when am I just like...
That's a good question.
Because there are times where there have been situations where I'm just like hating on somebody because they're doing good, or hating... And it wasn't even insecurity, because I know I can do better. You know what I'm saying? I know I can do better than this relationship. I know I can do better than whatever the situation is. But I still was in that space of like, putting on this thing like, just wait, I'm gonna do it better. Even with my mom, oh yeah, marriage will never work. Oh, I'm gonna show you.
I'm gonna show you. And I think the one is the shy.
Yeah.
I think that I have a lot of those characteristics.
Yeah.
Break down the shy though.
So the shy is a person that, pretty much what you said is that, they will appear to be shy. On the inside, they're not. Like, on the inside, they're just bursting out of the scenes. But they have to keep this persona, this mask of being the shy. They have to keep that on. And a lot of times it is because there's something that has happened in the past, and you've expressed your excitement about something, and then somebody is a dampener, right? And then starts to either make you see things from a different perspective, or start looking for something that's not even there, or they start speaking ill of something else, or they bring up something that they know, or whatever. So when that happens, that trauma causes you to now go into the space of putting on the mask, the shy mask, so that you're not expressive, you're not excited, you're not encouraged.
Yeah. I do that.
And it's, how would you know what Martin Luther King did for us if nobody had
written the story?
If the story was never told, how would you know of all of these things that have been accomplished and people being a face of hope to you, especially as an African-American woman?
that brings us to unraveling the soul ties.
Yes.
Now, exactly what does that mean?
So a soul tie is anything. So what we understand is your soul is your mind, your emotion, and your will. Right?
Okay.
So your mind, your thinking, how you think, your heart, how you feel about something, the emotion that is attached to it, the feeling, and then what your response or your reaction is. So if something comes to your mind that causes an emotion that then makes you act a certain way or say a certain thing, then it's a soul tie.
Okay.
Good and bad, right?
Yeah, positive or negative?
Positive or negative. Because our soul tied to God, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe that my salvation is through the blood of Jesus Christ. I'm not religious. I have a personal relationship with God. So the good soul tie I have is that when I think something, I think about what he did for me. It causes me to have so much joy. I want to do that for other people.
Okay.
That's a godly soul tie. But for a while with my ex-husband, if I would hear somebody with his name, it would cause me to feel some kind of way. And I would mistreat that person or respond to that person negatively because I wasn't over the soul tie
to that
person.
reaction or person.
Correct. Especially if they said something a certain kind of way or they raised their voice, their tone was a certain way, it would automatically take me back too. So that's an unhealthy soul tie.
Okay.
So I'm bringing that baggage into the new relationship, meaning I'm not single. I can't give myself to anybody because I'm still attached to this stuff that I'm bringing with me.
Somebody's bringing with them. So how do you, it's one thing to be aware of it, but how do you change that behavior though?
So breaking a soul tie, I personally believe, begins with forgiveness. I have to choose to forgive the person for what they did because it made me feel a certain kind of way. So I deal with the entire soul when it comes to forgiveness. A lot of times people teach forgiveness and they teach it in a way that, oh, I choose to forgive this person, or I forgive this person. They don't even say I choose to. They'll say, I forgive Johnny, right? And in my head, I know Johnny cheated, Johnny lied, Johnny stole from me, Johnny did all of these other things, right? And so I don't really deal with the whole thing. I'm dealing with it from a mouth. I'm saying it, right? But in order for me to have a heart change in that situation, I choose to forgive Johnny for cheating on me with my sister because it made me feel less than a woman. It made me feel angry. It made me feel unloved. It made me feel
unpacking it.
It's unpacking all of the emotions that are attached to this offense by this person so that I can now respond to another person named Johnny in a healthy way and not pull old Johnny back in the picture. And
now,
so then I go through that process of saying, I choose to break the soul tie with Johnny physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. I ask you, Lord, to pour back into him and to release me from anything that he may have caused.
From a positive place, because I think sometimes we say we forgive people, but you know, I would say we spitting on their grave in the back of our mind. Like I forgive, but acknowledging what you're forgiving.
Yes,
that's the breakthrough part of that. What you're saying, because I forgive you. Break down forgiveness in a very good way in the book. Like, and I do want to hit on that. So let me go. Because one thing you said that I thought was profound, you said, I'm gonna tell you what forgiveness ain't.
Exactly.
You know,
because we've been lied to.
We've been lied to. You know, oh, I forgive you. The godly way is to forgive. You know, but what happens when someone has done you in a wrong that it's unforgivable in your mind?
In your mind, right.
In your mind. And then a couple of things you say, like, forgiveness doesn't mean you excuse or condone the behavior.
Not at all.
So,
not at all. I don't condone the fact that my great uncle molested me when I was 9. There's nothing condonable about that.
You're not excusing the behavior.
There's no way to excuse the behavior or any of that. But what I'm not gonna do is let what he did cause me to live the rest of my life in fear or in distrust of all men or any of that. He's not gonna hold the puppet strings to my life, because that's what I felt like he did. I didn't want to go back to the family reunion because he might be there. You know what I'm saying? So
You don't want to say nothing because your aunt,
you know what I'm saying? That's my mama brother.
Right,
Like,
right.
that's my grandmama's son. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to, but I realized that I was still chained to that person until I let them go. So what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is cutting the string that has allowed them to continue to control my mind, my emotions, and my actions.
And like you said, you're not condoning what
I'm not condoning what they
I'm not
did.
excusing the behavior, but I have chosen
to not let you continue to control me by holding that over my head, or me holding on to that. And forgiveness isn't about him. It's about my personal relationship with God. It's about me being free to move on with my life
and let it go.
Let it go.
What about forgiveness doesn't mean that you're weak?
It takes an extremely strong person to let go of an offense that they did not bring on themselves. It shows our strength. Forgiveness is not wishing that the same thing happened to them. Like, it's like, I don't wish, we hear that all the time, I don't wish this on my worst enemy. Well, when you're holding on to unforgiveness, that's what you're doing. You're kind of wishing it on the person.
You want something to happen to them. It's going to make you feel better. I think we do have a tendency to do that. Somebody cheated on you, be like, yeah, when you get a new girlfriend, she going to do
the same thing to him. Exactly. As king's kids, because I consider myself a king, I'm a king's kid. I'm King Jesus, right? As a king's kid, I don't go through anything. I grow through everything.
That is real good. I like it.
I grow through everything.
So what we're going to do in this last part is I have some relationship questions. And these are people who have sent me some information they want advice on.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through this. Okay, the first one is, I am a 34-year-old woman who has never been married. And I'm dating a man who was 40 and twice divorced.
Okay.
He has been clear from the beginning that he does not want to get married again, but I would like to get married someday. We've been together for 3 years. Should I wait for him to change his mind?
No.
There's
nothing.
What is a good relationship, though?
I understand.
I thought you was going to say yes to that.
No. There is, if he's made it very clear that this is not something that he desires to do again, then you wanting it is not going to change that.
I agree with that.
You know, that's what I feel about that.
All right. So I recently got a job offer in a different state, and my wife does not want to move. But it's a big advancement and opportunity. Do I take the job and see if a long-distance marriage will work, or do I convince my wife to move?
If she's made a choice that she's not moving, what is her reason for not moving? That would be the question. The question would be, what is the reason?
Why she doesn't want to.
What is the reason?
And is it something you can change her mind about? Because it could be she don't want to be around, she wants to be close to her family. You can't change that. You ain't going to move the whole family.
Yeah.
So,
but there again, marriage is between God, one man, and one woman. And the Bible is very clear about you leave your mother and father and you cleave to your spouse. It's very clear about that. So the question would be, what is it about the move that she's uncomfortable with? And then trying to identify what that is and work through those processes. If it is that she wants to be around family, give her the option to come back to visit once a month, or
compromise,
find some type of compromise there. But for them,
I think that's good advice. Find out why she don't want to move. It's the big one.
Yes, that's the biggest piece.
Okay. I'm a 27-year-old woman whose marriage was a nightmare. I am now divorced and trying to let go of the hurt from my ex-husband. But every time I go out on a date, I am immediately turned off by any characteristic of my ex. I've met some great men over the years, but I don't give them a chance because of something petty like ordering the same meal that my ex-husband used to always eat.
Yeah. So, that goes back to that soul ties, right? And the soul ties and the unforgiveness and dealing with that trauma, because trauma is a different situation. So you hear people talk about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. If there was trauma there, there's stress that is related to that, and it is something from the past, and you're bringing it into the present. So my recommendation there would definitely be therapy, to get with someone that can help you to unpack those pains and that hurt.
What the hurt is.
Yes, what the hurt is.
And letting that part go.
Correct. It's not necessarily
we talked
even the
about
person.
that. It could be a trigger.
It isn't.
He could have said something the way, you just
Yeah.
like done.
Wear the same cologne, like anything. Yeah.
Anything. And now you have passed up that whole person.
Yes.
For one thing that,
Yes, but that comes from a space of unforgiveness and a space of still having a soul tie.
I think one of the things that you say that's key in all of this is, we all been through some stuff. Let's accept that. You made some choices. Let's accept that. But let it go. Learn. See what you could do differently. And then unpack what your role was in it.
You have to. I think that is the most self-reflective, self-awareness, it's like advancing you so much further than the next person when you take the role of being aware of all of these different areas.
Man, you have given us a lot. It's been so good talking to you, and I feel like it's very open and it will help people. So give people information about where they can find the books, like if they wanted to have a session with you, like where can people find out more about you?
Well, I'm on all social networks as @Taffiney Williams. I'm there, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then I have Taffiney Williams. Taffiney.com is my website. It's still in the process of being updated so that you can get a chance to reach out. But there is a contact me space on that website where you can actually go in and send me a message and get signed up for some of the classes or our conference that we've got coming up, Would You Marry You, that we do every year in 2024.
Is it only for couples?
It is not only for
great.
couples.
Okay.
It is for singles as well as couples, whoever it is that wants to enhance or enrich their relationship. So I consider myself the relationship enrichment specialist. I help people enrich their relationships with themselves, with God, and with others. So that's what I do.
Well, thank you so much, Taffiney. It's been so fun
Awesome.
talking to you. And make sure you guys watch her show also on NECAT, Would You Marry You?